And we're back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the shop. Nathan's here. Bert's up there. Toolbox is still here. Cocker stuff's still here. I know, it's been a long time. You guys asked for it, so you know what? We're going to go through how to build a new frame. Okay? Sorry about the delay. Most of this stuff is still the same. What you don't see off camera is I picked up a little tiny mill, I picked up a little tiny lathe, I started making some stuff, lots of cool stuff going on in life, crazy things happening at work, all kinds of different stuff. So, got all kinds of interesting things to talk to you about, and I'm not going to do it. Instead, what we're going to talk about is turning this thing into a new frame, a PNEU frame. A lot of you guys saw, I posted a video here a little while back of a new frame cocker that I had built. It was a sleeper that I built for a buddy of mine that honestly came out really, really well. Oh, hi, Katie. Came out awesome, and I was really super happy about it, and I guess nobody had done one for a while because people kind of went crazy. So I'm psyched about that. I'd love to make you guys a bunch of frames, but to be honest with you, I got a lot of stuff that I'm tinkering with. So instead, how about I show you how to do it? So I'm going to rearrange the camera a little bit. We will probably zoom in down on here. I'll do another terrible top-down look kind of thing since I don't have a proper tripod and all that whatnot. And we'll get going. Welcome back. Alright, welcome back to our terrible top-down view. I'm trying to squeeze a funky little ghetto rig tripod in here. So this is what we're starting with. This is a SF frame, or the frame off of a Trilogy SF or Select Fire. No idea what these are running right now. Don't really care. So what we're going to do, we're going to pull the grips real quick so you can kind of see what we're looking at. So the whole premise, So the whole premise of this frame is this is what we would call an electro-pneumatic frame, okay? So there, as you can see, there is a circuit board in here. You've got your capacitor, which means we're running this little solenoid. Basically what would happen is you pull the trigger, we hit the clicky switch. The clicky switch tells the solenoid to run this. Can you see what I'm looking at? The silver portion right here, okay? This silver portion is a very small air ram, okay? That it's kind of a one-way ram, so when it is enacted upon, when it has air pushed into it, air ram comes up. That ram interacts with essentially what is that, it's not really the trigger plate, so to speak, but it is this portion, the forward portion, that actually acts upon the three-way rod, or the, yeah. So when it pushes up on that, such like this, as you can kind of see right here, that front portion, what we're going to call the trigger plate, it's actually the three-way rod actuator, that portion is linked to the sear via a spring. So as the air ram pushes up, pushes this forward to actuate the timing rod, as well as drop the sear essentially simultaneously. So when these are set up right, on the Trilogies themselves, it wasn't really a big deal because it was a fixed three-way, you know, essentially non-adjustable. So it cycled perfectly basically every time. You dropped the sear and you cycled the three-way almost exactly the same time. So you really didn't have to worry about anything going wrong. Now you do have to do a little bit of timing if you throw one of these on a, well, you don't necessarily have to, but you have to have a little bit of adjustment when you throw these on a standard cocker. If you want to get a good tight cycle, obviously it's still going to be a pretty tight cycle, but you want it to be everything in unison, okay? So, what we're going to do is we are going to gut all of this out, except for the top portion here for right now. We're going to do just the basics tonight. We're going to gut all of this stuff out of here, and I'll show you kind of where we need to go from there. So, I'll see you after the jump cut. Alright, so we've gutted our frame out. It's really not all too complicated. Okay, the biggest thing here is there's two things. One, you're going to have to pull both of your panels off. This is your solenoid and air ram. Okay, so as we can see, this is the little air ram that I was talking about. So whenever you would click this micro switch, it would send a signal to the board, power this, shoots a little bit of air to it, air ram shoots up, actuates everything in the frame itself. Okay, so what we are going to do here is we're going to taking out two small screws, Phillips head screws that sit right here. These are the ones that mount the micro switch. You're going to want to keep a hold of those. They will come in handy later, or at least one of them will. Now this is obviously going to be kind of a guide to doing stuff how I would do it, which is, you know, I'm doing it in my basement. So this should be, you should be able to do this with a lot of tools that you'll just kind of have on hand. There are some tools that are going to make it a little bit easier, and we'll go over that later. You're also going to need to remove, there will be three very small screws down here. Those are what hold your board in place. Those I'm actually going to have to track down because it looks like I was missing them in this one. The other thing, you're going to have a Phillips head screw here and a Phillips head screw right here. Okay, those are what actually mount this solenoid and air ram up inside the frame. Okay, so essentially what we're doing, like I said, we rip out the micro switch, we've pulled the board, and we've pulled our combination air ram and solenoid out. Now we're going to disassemble this portion real quick. Two little bitty Phillips head screws. Those are off here. Now you can always set that aside just in case you have, I don't know, something else you need a solenoid for. We don't need that electronic stuff here, that heathen stuff. So, what we're going to have to do here is, if you can look, you can see these air pathways were designated to go in certain places through that solenoid. Okay, well, we're not going to be running a solenoid anymore. We're going to be running basically just a one-way on-off air supply valve, a Fabco MSB2, which I'll grab here in a second for you so you can see. So what we're going to have to do is kind of rearrange where our air is coming from and where our air is going. There is an exhaust on the MSB2 valve, so we're going to have to change out where our air is coming from and going. So we'll probably go over that when we start the actual modifications video. This, we're just going to show you how to strip everything down. So basically, all said and done. Oh god, that sounds terrible. All you're going to need, we're going to show you right here. So you're going to need your Trilogy SF or Select Fire frame. We're going to have to gut that out, keep the hardware, okay, and we're going to need to split our solenoid and air ram. We're going to need our air ram. We're going to need, I believe, a 632 set screw, and we'll use this barb as well. We're going to need a Fabco MSV2 air valve. Okay, so you can get these in three different configurations. You can get a standard MSV, which is just a essentially you're just activating on the rod that's inside this itself. You can get the MSV2, which has the lever activation, and then they make an MSV, oh, what's it called? An MSV2A, which is the MSV2 with a little roller at the end, which could be fun. You're also going to need a couple of, I believe these are 1032 threaded hose barbs. You're going to need one for input pressure, one for output pressure, and those are just going to be linked to your LPR. You're also going to need some sort of rod to use to make your actuation rod. I usually use 1/8 inch. This is just some stainless steel rod I've got coming around, sitting around for making timing rods and whatnot. I prefer to use stainless because deep down I want to think that it's gonna, you know, just last better, even though this isn't exactly a high impact situation. So this stuff is really nice to have. You can use aluminum. The first one of these that I built, I used aluminum rod on. It'll work just fine. The biggest thing is get yourself a good 1.5 2-inch chunk of this, because you're gonna end up, every one of these is gonna fit a little bit different, and we'll go over that when we start going over actually building everything internally. But you're gonna want at least about 1.5 2 inches in my experience. 1.5 will usually do you plenty. But you're going to want that. That's going to be our actuation rod between the trigger and the valve that's built in here. The other thing you're going to want to have is some sort of either plexiglass or plastic or wood. You're going to want to be, oh, let's see, what is this? Yeah, you're looking at 1/8 inch thick is what I've been using on mine. I have some 1/8 inch thick mirrored plexiglass that I've been using to make backing plates for mine. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to make a mounting plate that's going to sit in here and avoid this particular section where the air ram is going to sit. We're going to modify the air ram to block off one port and take air from another port. That way when the air is exhausted, it's going to be flushed back through our MSV2. The MSV2, we're going to have to figure out where we need to mount it in here, and then we're going to drill through the frame up here, the trigger guard. We're going to drill through the back of the frame to get to our actuation, make a hole for our actuation rod moving back and forth. Then we're going to make said rod and find out what our best length is going to be depending on the actuation point of our MSV2 valve. So, that's where we get started. Alright guys, so like I said, a lot of people, when I posted the video of the new trigger, or the new frame that I had built a while back, oh my god, that's good. When I posted a video of that, a lot of people got really excited about it. It was something they really hadn't seen. First and foremost, if this is, you know, I really love mech play. I love seeing all the mech tournaments coming around. This is not going to be mech legal, mech tourney legal. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is going to fall underneath the same category as the like the legacy mods. According to like the ICPL rules, any kind of trigger actuation that enacts directly on a valve to fire the marker, which this technically does, you know, that valve is what is running the sear and the three-way. Anything that has that kind of actuation can only have a trigger guard of about 1.5 inches maximum. Okay, this obviously falls, you know, a lot bigger than 1.5 inches. So you can't. It's not going to be mech tourney legal. I don't want anybody getting in trouble. That being said, to hell with it. We're tinkering in the basement, so I'm going to teach you how to do it anyway. This is going to be our introduction video, and then I'll start making some stuff. We'll kind of walk through any tips or tricks that I can think of, how to do it all, what you need to mount up, and I mean, we'll kind of see how it goes. So, as always, thank you again for joining me on this episode of Nathan Drinks Bourbon and Makes Weird Crap in His Basement. We'll see you next time, guys.